Want to know how to fix damaged sponsors like this? Watch this video to find out how. Hello there, Will here from We Fix Kids. In this video, I'm going to be taking you through how to take a shirt like this with a kind of padded flock sponsor, stripping it all back, ready for a replacement to be put on. So what this shirt is, 2005 Liverpool home shirt. Reminds me of when they won the Champions League, 3-0 down at half-time, 7 minutes of magic, and they're back to 3-3, winning on a penalty shootout afterwards. And yeah, this is very common for this shirt and pretty much any Carlsberg shirt for the sponsor to get damaged and come off. So I'm going to take you through step by step how to kind of strip this back, doing as little damage as possible to the material underneath so that a new one can be put on over the top and restore it back to its former glory. So, first things first is we're going to need to clean the shirt. The reason we need to clean the shirt is because a lot of these shirts, they're 20, 30 years old, and because of that, they have a lot of in-ground dirt and oils, and a lot of solvents that we're going to use will bring that out. And when it brings it out, it leaves a nasty smear mark. So the idea behind cleaning it first is that it gets rid of all the ground-in dirt and gives you, if you like, a relatively blank canvas to start applying solvents if necessary to be able to kind of get the material off that you want to remove. There's a couple of things you have to be careful of when you're doing this, though. I use something called Napisan. Thanks to Amy, my friend Amy, who told me about Napisan. It's brilliant. It's meant for, as the name suggests, nappies, but it also works very well on football shirts. You can use it with hot water, boiling water, very, very hot water, all the way down to cold water, depending on the shirt. Now, this shirt, it's pretty safe to use on because there's no vinyl. It's got a dodgy name set. We'll talk about that in another video. But there's no vinyl. This is kind of a flock material. This is sewn on. Yeah, you could say that might get damaged, but it's unlikely. So you could use really quite hot water for this. But for other shirts like this Valencia shirt, you've got to be careful because that's what happens when you put a shirt in too hot of water is it melts the vinyl and the paint comes off and then you get paint all over it. So this will be, again, another restore later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through how we're going to set up the Napisan, and there you go. What you're going to need for this first part is Napisan. Oh, there you go. Old washing up bowl. Spoon. Do not use the family silver because the Napisan, it really does damage the metal over time. So, bit of Napisan in. It says on there to use like a cup or so, but you don't need a lot. If you're only doing one football shirt, that's probably about a tablespoonful. Get the hot tap running. Get it so it's nice and hot. Give it a second. I did pre-run it, but cool down. Okay, now we're going to get the water in. Give it a swirl around. It's really important to make sure the Napisan is fully dissolved before you put the shirt in, because what I found is sometimes a bit of Napisan powder might sit on the shirt, and then you can get kind of nasty little marks and what have you. So it's a good idea just to give it a stir with the spoon and make sure that you don't leave any of the ground there. Right, so I think that's probably enough. So we're now just going to put the Liverpool shirt in. Use the spoon to just put it under. We're going to leave this here for about 20 minutes or so, and then I'll come back. So shirt has been in for about 20 minutes or so. Water's tepid now, so it's fine. You've got to be careful if you're using boiling water. Just be careful. Make sure you don't burn yourself with the water. I've given it the odd stir here and there. So here's my magic spoon doing some stirring. So all I'm going to do now is start to take off the flock. So what you should see, if it all goes well, so that just peels off dead simply. So we're just going to go through. If you feel any sort of resistance or whatever, don't worry about it. Just leave that on there. For different types of flock, it'll be a lot more stubborn. This particular shirt is quite easy to peel the flock off. You can see it's still leaving some little bits, but that's fine. They'll come off. And what I'm going to do is I'll peel off most of it, but I'll leave some on just so I can show you a good solvent to use to get the more stubborn bits off. So let's just go through. This sort of material called padded flock. And there's different types of padded flock. This one actually doesn't have much padding, but some of the older stuff had like a foam underneath. And being able to recreate that is really difficult, actually. It's not something that's easily done, especially in kind of made-to-measure kind of sizes. I know there's a gentleman on Twitter called The Shirtsmith, and shout out to Steve. He's been able to create some padded flock sponsors, so might want to hit him up if you want to sponsor off of him. But on the whole, it's quite difficult to kind of recreate the padded flock. So here we go. We're just gonna see that's no, it's all just coming off. There you go, come off. There we go. I'll leave that. I'll leave the rest on. Let's just get this off. I'll leave the dot on. Right, so I've left a little bit on. What you can see now is you've got where there was flock, you've now got nothing apart from the imprint, some little bits of adhesive around the side. I left this bit on here and this bit on here because I'll show you what you can do to get that off. It's going to have to go through the washing machine anyway, so it may be that it doesn't survive the wash, in which case we'll just talk it through. But we'll see. So I'm just going to leave this in now for another, I'd say, 20 minutes or so, just to make sure any of the stains are out the rest of the shirt, and then I'll come back. Okay. Right, so shirt's been soaking for about an hour or so. It's now ready to get out and wash. Now, to wash it, whenever I'm washing any football shirts in a washing machine, I like to use one of these wash bags per shirt. Maybe you can put two in, but it just protects them from getting little tears and stuff in the washing machine. So, get the shirt out. Yeah. When I'm washing it, I put it on a 30 quick wash. I never put any conditioner in. I learned that the conditioner can damage name sets and what have you. So as a general rule, I never use conditioner on football shirts, whether you're restoring them or whether they're kind of good shirts. I just do a 30 kind of gentle short wash with just a little bit of detergent in. Right, so it's ready to go in the washing machine. On 15 minutes. There you go. That'll take 19 minutes. I'll be back then. Okay, so washing machine's finished. It's dry-ish. It's not fully dry. And as you can see, even though I left some on, the washing machine has kind of taken the rest of it off. There is still a little kind of bogey there. What we'll do, and it's got a little bit of purchase to it, so we'll just pretend that it's solid. It's just going to be the, oh, there you go. It's going to be the same method getting this off. In later videos, we'll show you how to we'll use some more stubborn flock and show you how to get that off. But the logic and the principle is still the same thing. You still follow pretty much the same steps. So let's put that over here. So what we have is Pyrex, standard Pyrex. Go in the kitchen, I'm sure you've got one. And then this is a light screen or something like that. It's effectively what you use to trace with. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the Pyrex over the top of the light screen. The reason for using the Pyrex is because we don't want any chemical to get on the screen of the light because it might damage it. So we're going to turn this shirt inside out because you always have to work. Well, okay. When you're starting out taking something off with a solvent, it's really advisable to work from the back. Don't work from the front, because if you work from the front, it's likely to kind of spread paint or to spread mess. If you start from the back, that will start eating away at the adhesive holding whatever it is that you want to get off. So we're going to start from the back. And the reason for using the light box is, I don't know whether you can see, but if we were just putting this on a let's turn the light off. Right. So although this shirt's a pretty bad example because you can see where it's kind of embossed. On some shirts, you'll have a name set, for example, where you've got little bits of vinyl left or what have you, and you can't see where the vinyl is to be able to apply the solvent to get it off. So, like I say, in this instance, you can see that embossing, so it's pretty obvious. But like I say, logic is the same. If you use a light, set it on its brightest mode, there you go. It's nice and clear where it is that we have to apply the solvent. The solvent we're going to use today is Villar vinyl letter remover. This is something that a chap called Shirtsmith told me about a while back, and it's fantastic. It's probably the go-to solvent to use to kind of get things off. But what I have noticed is it very much depends on the adhesive that's been used and the material trying to get off, whether it's solvent, whether it's acetone, whether it's pure alcohol. They respond, but some things respond better to other solvents. But in this instance, we're going to go with VLR. Okay, so what you don't want to do with VLR, and this is one of the reasons, like I said at the beginning, why you want to clean the shirt first, is because the VLR will take all of the dirt out of the shirt and it will start spreading it as the VLR is kind of moving through the shirt, and you'll get a nasty kind of smear mark that kind of expands as the fluid kind of expands. So by cleaning it, you get rid of the majority of it, but there will always be a little bit of dirt or a little bit of grime left underneath. So what you want to do is, rather than pouring too much VLR in, and there's a time for doing that and there's a time for not doing that, the best thing to do initially is to just put it on a cotton pad like this, and then just dab it over the back. It's quite a small area we're covering. What you can do, you need to leave it for probably 10 to 15 seconds to let the VLR do its job. What you can do in the meantime, if you see a kind of circle, I don't know whether you can see that, but you can just see around the outside of where I've applied it, you can see where it's starting to spread. So what you can use is the other part of the cotton pad to just mop it up, and it stops that smear mark. If you get a smear mark, then we'll do a video at a later date on how to remove that, but it can be very, very stubborn, especially if it's kind of dried in. Right, so we've applied it. Now we're going to take it off. Let's turn that off so it doesn't blind you. Take it off, and what you can do is you just give it a little pull, stretch the material. Nylon by definition is very stretchy, and it just comes off. Now this, like I say, it's not the best example because it was pretty weakly attached in the first place, but the logic and the principle is the same for pretty much anything that you're taking off. Now what it has done is it's kind of left a bit of residue underneath. Oh, that's gone on, so let's turn that back off. So what you can do is using the cotton pad that you had, if you just rub over the top. You don't want to do this with too much. You want to make sure it's only a little bit on there. So you just rub over the top, and that will take off the rest of the residue. So you can see now there's no residue there. It's just the embossed, sort of imprinted pattern from the Carlsberg mark. And now we've got some other bits around the Carlsberg where there's a little bit of residue. So what we'll do is we'll just use that same cotton pad, find where the VLR is on it. Might be to put a little bit more on, but you don't need a lot because it's not having to get off much. And you just go round, just gently removing any of the residue that's there. Like I say, this is a very straightforward and simple sponsor to remove. Some magnets are really, really stubborn and you have to use a little bit more force. But in general, if you can, let the kind of solvent do its job. So you're kind of using chemistry rather than force or physics to force things off. And that way you minimise the damage to the shirt. That said, sometimes damage is kind of unavoidable. Sometimes it just won't come off, and that is what it is. But here we go. But where possible, just let the chemical do its job. Don't use too much of it. And you can see there, the little bits now just come off. And what you're left with is a nice clean. There's literally nothing there. The only markings is where it's not fully dried yet. There you go. And what we'll do is in our next video, we'll be putting a new replacement back on. So, thank you very much.